AI in Action, Halldale's podcast series which looks at how civil aviation, military, and other safety-critical industries are adopting AI in training.
Welcome everyone, my name's Andy Fawkes. I'm Special Correspondent here at the Halldale Group and I'm host of AI in Action, which we've been running nearly a year now. And here it's part of a wider series where we look at the fast-moving world of AI in training and simulation across civil aviation, the military, and also wider safety-critical industries. So today, though, we are looking at the future of simulation and training, not only for humans, but for machines in a joint environment. So it is principally military, but we may go broader. So that is what we're going to talk about today, and we've got a true expert who's going to help us with this important subject, Sébastien Lozé, who's the Vice President of Aechelon, and is in charge of market innovation and ecosystems, and he will explain what he's been doing in that role. But he has got extensive experience. I know I've known Seb for many years actually, and he's worked in a variety of companies, including some of the industry leaders like formerly Bohemia Interactive Simulations and CAE, and he's worked also importantly in Epic Games. So you see, it's got a view of technology from that angle too. So Seb, if you're happy to start talking with us now, I hopefully got all that right in my introduction. Could you just say, I've probably messed up everything I've just said about your career. Could you say how you started and you got where you are today?
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to chat here. It's a pleasure to join you in the program and the Halldale AI series here. It's always a pleasure to chat and few words about background. I mean, you had the background very right. I mean, I learned about the principles of AI in 2001 when for my engineering degree dissertation that was called Automatic Generation of Literature Pieces. I did dive into the work of Jean-Pierre Balp in the Paris University in Jussieu. It was my first touch into AI. Jean-Pierre Balp was a precursor of many of the research that we see now blooming in the past 10 years on AI. And since this first encounter 25 years ago, time flies, right? My professional life, I've been focusing into building simulators. So I had the opportunity, as you mentioned, to see how the content is essential to simulation and how interoperability and correlation between data set is essential. And I volunteered with many organizations with my peers and dived into a lot of organizations like the Simulation Interoperability Standard Organization, the National Training and Simulation Association, the different NATO modeling and simulation groups that I participated into, and the OGC or the USGIF, just to name a few of the groups which are allowing our community to build these systems as a community, right? So in the simulation domain, as you mentioned in introduction, I focus on defense and aerospace, moving 20 years ago from Paris to Montreal to work on flight sims initially at CAE and Presagis, and then at Epic Games, where I've been developing the adaptation path for Unreal Engine towards the simulation industry. Now, at Aechelon, I am as the VP of Market Innovation and Ecosystems. My role is to make sure that we understand our community challenges and the trends in our community to influence our product strategy and our vision moving forward as a company. So you see, this is very timely, as you can imagine, for us to engage with your audience, as AI is becoming an essential trend in the simulation field. And simulation itself is a central element of how AI and autonomous systems are learning, especially in defense.
Absolutely, it's very timely, and we're delighted you could join us for this series. Could you say a bit more about the company and the history?
It's a bit tricky, right? Because we're talking about the history of a 27 years experienced company when you just joined. Less than a year ago, it's fairly tricky, but I'll try to summarize, right? So First, a couple of numbers to set the stage, right? I mean, Aechelon is a company producing image generators for a lot of flight simulators around the world. It's more than 1,200 multi-channel devices shipped and installed for the US DoD and allied nations systems worldwide. The company is based in California. We have offices in Spain and in different other regions in the US. But all these IGs, it represents more than 10,000 NVIDIA GPU delivered in the world. We invested in content. We created our own content, our own geospecific imagery, and invested more than 200 millions in building 3D content and source data with the proper right that we own. So the big question that we have from a lot of people when I go in the field is, well, where are you guys coming from, and why didn't I hear about you, and how did you get there, right? So you need to imagine a handful of silicon graphic engineers in San Francisco in the late 90s, right? With a crazy ambition to build the best multi-sensor geospecific mission trainer for the defense community. It's a classic story of, pre-2000 group of engineers working in a garage, building something they believe needed their creativity. Well, so because of the strong common background, location, and ecosystem, they started to leverage NVIDIA cards in 2001 and became the pioneers of leveraging NVIDIA CUDA CPU in image generator in 2010, right? So just after that, in 2011, to make sure they could grow the worldwide database that they created to feed the simulators at the pace requested coming from their customers, they had to build the first multispectral global database using AI machine learning, right? And build an entire team to augment the internal know-how and expertise. And that's really how we started to accelerate. Then you need to imagine, and them, a lot of programs from the DoD, lots of other departments, agencies, program acronyms could be listed here and name dropped here, which built the deployment and the success of the deployment of Aechelon. But namely, we could mention the Joint Synthetic Environment, the Minotaur program, and even more recently, the SCARS program, which are all about databases, right? So
that's the US Air Force SCARS, just to be clear.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes. And what is very interesting in the beautiful story of Aechelon is that they're coming from pixels. I said they because I was not there at this time. They're coming from the pixels, right? Silicon graphics engineers, right? And developed one of the most deployed image generator system in our field, and now leveraging the pipeline we created for our own needs to serve other needs and provide to the simulation, the ISR community, the autonomy communities, not only an image generator set of solutions, but a data generation pipeline, which is capable to fuse the visible light content, the non-visible light domain, but also the multi-int content into the new type of digital ground truth that we all need. And this generated the vision around Project Albion, which we launched last summer.
Could you say more about Albion, Project Albion?
Sure, absolutely. I'm glad you asked.
No, I'm interested. I want to know.
Albion is a manifestation of our entire pipeline, right? Everything that we achieved to build our simulators, to build the content for simulators, forced us into creating a very fast pipeline that allows end user to very quickly ingest content. For example, we demonstrated at AITSEC this year, not long ago, a couple of months ago, right? 4 months ago now. We demonstrated a couple of skill sets that are possible with Albion and with our own pipeline called Skybeam. The ability to integrate satellite content very quickly into an environment in which people can train. in less than a few hours, building things at scale in a couple of minutes. We also demonstrated live feed coming from drones, coming from UAV, directly mapped onto your virtual environment with target reconnaissance and identification, which in our days and age is very practical. And all these capacities running live at the event surprised a lot of the community. We didn't know about it, right? That's this pipeline that we used originally internally that we're opening to the community now.
So that's, I mean, it's close to my heart. I remember in the noughties many years ago when I was being able to, when I was on the Ministry of Defence, trying to update our simulators with the latest terrain was really important. But we were very slow, to be honest, to do that. But
well, the
technology has caught up.
Yeah, the frame of reference that we talk about when I think about it, and I go back into history of my career, is some programs that I worked on where we were, and I'm not really at liberty of quoting, all the programs we worked on, but in the past, long time ago, probably 20 years ago, when I started working in Montreal, we're working on programs that were where the frame of reference was that we had to generate content from Intel and train on content on Intel in a loop of 72 hours. Right, we have 72 hours from receiving data, training people, and to deploying people. Right, and that was the type of frame of reference. Now we're talking about minutes.
Yeah,
it's that type of scale change. Right, we're talking about dozens of minutes to build these environments.
The pipe is much shorter, I guess, and in a way, you've created a sort of multi-spectral world of the real world. I guess it could be any world, but our Earth, and you've created that, and you've created that for humans fundamentally. But now you say, "Oh, hold on a minute, that's quite useful for machines as well." Would be that fair summary?
It is, and we can dive into that. I mean, there's a lot of things that are changing. And more recently in our context, I mean, what's really interesting is that, well, it started to interest people that have the machine at heart, right, and the autonomy at heart. So that's the type of thing that we see happening a lot.
Yeah, and was this? I know you can't say too much about your recent relationship or acquisition with Shield AI. But is presumably they saw what you were doing and thought that's very interesting to what we do.
Well, that's a good point. As you mentioned, so we've signed an agreement to join Shield AI. It is indeed a super exciting time for us at Aechelon with our new friends from Shield AI. The deal remains subject to customary regulation approval, as you know. And our focus remains on supporting existing customers and partners, and before and after deal closure, the simulation continue to be the foundational, for training and validation that always involve humans. But now, when you think, when you project yourself towards the future, and over time, well, Shield AI is a leader in autonomy, and this agreement brings simulation and autonomy closer together, so that customers can train, test, and validate systems before deployment, autonomous system before deployment, even faster, with higher confidence. And this will represent a fundamental shift in how defense capabilities leverage software, AI, and real-time geospatial data processing with a broader vision, an integrated vision, if you want.
Yeah, I mean, it's very exciting.
And it really allows to be harnessing decades of progress in real-time synthetic reality that we've had from the simulation field to significantly enhance both current and future capabilities in accelerating go to market or go to solution timelines by years. It will also solve the gap that we see currently between human and autonomous system training and also operation management, right? Live operation management.
Yeah, I mean, I remember many years ago talking about simulation-based acquisition. It's like we're on the verge, really, of it happening. And you can see in Ukraine the way drones, the feedback of data from the front line back into acquisition and then straight back into the field. It's all happening much more quickly. I was very struck in your press release, or the press release, where it said, as you were saying, about how defence capabilities increasingly shaped in software, trained in simulation, and improved through use. So I thought that was pretty inspirational. Actually, that was just one line from the press release, which I believe I should be able to say.
Yes,
So it's publicly available, but very well worth a read. I fully understand why you can't delve too much deeper. Talking about sort of building on that, and how do you see AI in a way supporting that going forward, and how do you see AI where it maybe shouldn't as well, perhaps? But let's talk about the positive. How do you see AI affecting simulation and that broader picture?
Yeah, I believe that simulation is entering in a fundamentally new phase. Historically, simulation was used to replicate environments for training or modeling human interactions, essentially to mirror reality as accurately as possible. What is changing now is that simulation is on top of what it has always been, becoming a core engine for understanding, decision making, and ultimately supporting autonomy, not just as a training tool for humans, but also for the machines. When you think about it, the driver behind the shift is really the AI acceleration, right? Think about the challenges faced by our end users or typical end users. As a reserve officer in the French Air and Space Force, I have been reminded recently in conversation with some colleagues of the fact that intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance systems have always been an incredible source of data, and part of, since the first steps of the aviation pioneers, seeing beyond the horizon and over the lines has become a central mission for the air forces. So modern ISR systems and sensors, with different type of sensors, faster type of sensors, more global type of sensors, and from low orbit satellites to modern drones, are producing far more data than humans can process in real time. Even with the best data modelers, even with the best graphic designers, we need help, and AI is helping to extract meaning from that data, but it needs to be structured. High quality environment to lead, to learn from, and to operate within these very organized environments. And that's where simulation becomes so critical. The know-how that we developed at Aechelon and that exists within our peers as well over the last 27 years for Aechelon, to build rapidly multispectral synthetic environment extremely accurately and very quickly, allows us to create controlled, scalable, and repeatable environments where data can be fused, contextualized, and turned from source data to actionable insights that are encoded. And what is particularly interesting in the recent policy directions, like with the US AI acceleration strategy, is the emphasis on closing the loop between simulation and operations. Right, like the concept like the Ender's Foundry, right, highlights the need for continuous feedback between real-world systems and simulated environments. In practical terms, what it means is that simulation is no longer something that happened before deployment. It becomes a live system that evolves alongside operations, constantly improving models, training the AI capabilities, and validating decision. And this is a very natural evolution of the training continuum that we're familiar with within the simulation community, where we always wanted to have live, virtual, constructive simulation aiming to be tightly connected or at least established into a continuum loop. We're pushing this loop further with ISR live operation support. It's just an extension, right? You have live virtual constructive training. Once you have live training and the connection between all these worlds, you can imagine exploring towards operation, right? And going forward, we expect the simulation to move in three big directions, right? First, from visual realism that we attach ourselves so much towards and that I've participated into in the last years, from visual realism to contextual understanding, right? It's not just about rendering a scene. It's not just about rendering the pixels. It's not just about the IGs. It's about representing the full operational environment in a semantic manner, including terrain, sensors, threats identifications, behavior identifications, and all the multi-int that you can imagine. Now, second element of evolution and pivot, if you want, is from offline environment to real-time integration. Simulation will increasingly sit alongside with live system. We believe that it will be helping interpret data as it gets collected and guiding humans' ultimate decisions making. And accompanying the human into understanding things as fast as some machines. And the third element is training humans from training humans to training machines simulation, and becoming an essential infrastructure to develop and validate autonomous systems in the defense world, the same way it is currently done in the civilian world, where you see autonomous car being trained in virtual environment. The big difference is that the type of sensors, the type of validation, the type of flow of information is very different. The type of intelligence is very different. It requires specialties. It requires specific type of sensors that the simulation community developed over the last years to create this synthetic world in the defense field. So in that sense, AI is not replacing simulation. It actually makes it more important. The combination of the two creates a feedback loop where data improve models improve decision, and simulation ensures that everything can be tested and scaled safely, right? And tested and validated safely. And that loop is becoming a critical advantage in any environments, digital environments, where speed, complexity, and uncertainty are increasing.
Oh, they're very much working together. I guess as many people in simulation would say they always were. There was always AI in simulation.
Exactly.
It's interesting also that simulation in a way has always, I'm afraid, lagged the operations. Training simulators, as I said earlier, have often taken too long to get updated. But here, actually, simulation is actually part of the operation. Would that be fair?
Yeah, I think there's this conjunction and maybe porosity of this limit that existed historically, because the technology stack now allow us to go from one field to another.
Yeah, I think it's totally fascinating moment. I mean, do you think, without being critical of anyone, but do you think customers kind of understand this and that in a way they need to help industry push in this direction? I mean, the Ender's Foundry, which we'll put a link in this video for this, it's well worth reading. I think it refers to Ender's Game, where Ender doesn't know whether he's in a simulation or actually fighting the real war. He is fighting the real war, but he thinks he's in a simulation. I assume that's where that comes from. But it sounds like the US DoD or DOW is thinking like this. Is it still in industry, some of these thoughts? Do you know how does this message get out better, do you think?
I feel that, and that's the conclusion of a big conversation we had recently with some end users, is this notion of the fact that some people imaginary moonshots are the daily routine of others. There is if there's still a disconnect, there's a slight disconnect between the existing, in fact, ready-to-use capacities and the myth around the state of technology, right? This disconnect, in positive or negative, you would have some dreaming of, okay, all the problems are solved and life is good and we can just, rely on magic buttons. And some others that, to the contrary, are thinking that, oh yeah, we'll be there at some point. Well, we're already there, right? This disconnect is a thing that still exists, and that's why I think that conversations like the one that we can stimulate in different conferences are allowing us to close that gap and to allow industry and end users to be in a very, very closed loop.
So this future is not really the future; it's now. Is that what
it is now?
You're saying?
It is
now. Yeah. Well, hopefully this is all part of that, trying to get that message across. I think it's very important and important discussion. So in wrapping up, what would you, our listeners, what are there any key points you'd like them to sort of take away from this? Say one or two key points that they need to take back to their organizations.
Yeah, I mean, insert here previous conversations, but just to jump to a topic that's maybe more actionable. What's interesting to see is that in the recent last years, you've seen Aechelon evolving faster than we had in the previous years. You've seen last summer Project Orbion, we talked about it, launched when we initiated our partnership with Niantic Spatial, Black Sky, ISI, and Distance, right? The first AI-enabled digital twin of Earth. A year before that, we were adding the best synthetic small aperture radar capabilities to our portfolio with the acquisition of Compro Corporation, and now with the new agreement, we're entering into with Shield AI, we're connecting, potentially the simulation and the autonomy world, right? So you can see with all these movements and relations with many other players of the community, an element of our philosophy, right? We're very humbly recognizing that not everything can be solved by our internal team. And we appreciate that our entire simulation community has been solving a lot of the problems in a way which can serve use cases for the simulation field, obviously, but also ISR and autonomy. So today, more than ever, we are a community partner looking forward to collaborating with others and using standards to accelerate solving the complex problems that are faced by pilots and operators in the field. So if your readers, listeners, or viewers,
consumers,
content consumers, I don't know, have ideas on how they would like to partner with us to close the bridge, close the gap, and establish a bridge between humans and autonomy systems for training and operations. We're here, we're listening, and I'm really looking forward to engage with them. We will soon be at Quad-A, iTech, ModSim World, the CAX Forum, and many other gatherings of our industry. So make sure to ping us and lock some time to chat and see how we can work together. So that would be my closing here. Let's figure it out together.
Together.
And And
it's great. And I heard you mention standards, so that's another subject, but it's good to hear that's still part of this discussion. Yeah.
Oh yeah, being a member of the CISO and the OGC, we are tracked by our standards organizations around us, and we love them very much. We want to make sure that there's no walled gardens built around the technology that we're putting together.
Fantastic. So Seb Lozé, thank you so much for your time today. It's been truly fascinating. I found it fascinating myself. This is really important, and we wish you well in your endeavours, speaking to people and what's happening to your very interesting company. So it's been a real pleasure to hear you today, Seb. Thank you very much.
Thank you.